Mentoring continuing to be a hot topic as we enter 2008. One great organization here in the Milwaukee area that does just that in providing mentoring and tutoring and many other services is the Summit Educational Association. And with us this morning from Summit, we have Joel Garcia. Joel is a volunteer. He's a senior at Marquette, majoring in political science, perhaps looking at law school, and he has been in a program just like this one as well, the Midtown Center in Chicago. And obviously you got enough out of it that you wanted to get involved here.
That's correct. It was a very impressionable time in my life, to get to know different professionals, bankers, some were lawyers, some were engineers, and they took the time out of their week and they sat down with me and helped me with my math. That was a real big problem for me. And I still remember some of the tutors I had at that time growing up. And I got time to go and make new friends all around the city. A lot of kids that I met there I still talk to today. And, it was a lot of fun. And it was a constructive thing to do.
You needed help with math specifically. The tutoring that happens as a portion of the program at Summit, it is pretty well tailored. It's one-on-one stuff that's going on.
Correct. It's one-on-one attention, so you're there for about 45 minutes to an hour with a college student or professional, and the kid's there, and he's getting attention on whatever areas he needs most help on.
Well, and Joel, I couldn't help but notice, like you had said earlier, you are a political science major, so the math helped, obviously, to get you into Marquette, but still didn't make you excited about it.
No, not at all. But it got me through.
Well, I don't blame you for that. If you're just joining, Joel, I'm curious as well, being on the other side of things, working with students, what are some of the things that you have come in contact with? You're a college student. You're a young guy. You're a hip guy. You're in touch with what's going on. I think a lot of people might be intimidated and think, oh, I got to be a tutor. I don't want to do algebra. And like you said, you didn't want to do math either when you were involved in the program.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about what you encounter as a tutor. What are you working with your students with?
Well, primarily, I think the biggest thing is to be a motivator. I think that's the biggest part. To show the kid that what's at hand, what you're dealing with at that moment, just to try to get them to see the bigger picture. A lot of times it's hard to get, obviously, a 10, 11, 12-year-old to do that. But I think it's a challenge that you really have to take up, because in the long run, what you're trying to do is to help him develop, him or her, he or she, develop habits, lifelong habits. And in order to do that, you have to get them to see the big picture for what they're doing, and to get them to see past just this equation and show them and help instill in them the confidence, so that when they're outside of the classroom or they're outside of the tutoring session, they could put these things to use, in their daily lives. That's very important.
How do you see their confidence grow? Because I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Well, you see it right away in situations like when you encounter a math problem and the kid tells you, I can't do this, and you don't give up on him. You don't just do it for him. You don't, let him pull out the calculator. You treat him as if it was somebody that you actually wanted to see succeed. And so what you do is you take the time to spend on that one problem, even if it means maybe we won't get through the whole sheet of homework that we have here. What I want you to do is to show you that you can get through this problem, and when you get home, do the same thing, and then bring it back to me and let me see what you did. Because, as a tutor, you're only going to spend 1 hour a week with this kid. So you really have to, in that hour, you have to do more than just help them complete a sheet of homework. You're trying to get them to develop some habits there. And so, like I said, you want them to see the big picture, and the big picture isn't just getting it done. It's learning how to do it and knowing that you can do it. And next time you do encounter a problem that you can't do, understanding that if you take the time out for yourself to practice it and try to learn it, that you can do that by yourself. You don't need me there all the time telling you exactly how to get it done.
Joel, it sounds like somebody put these words exactly into your mouth about 10, 12 years ago as well. I mean, when you were working with a tutor as a young person and you were having some of these issues with your math and just growing up and those sorts of things, is this the message you were getting?
Definitely. I was fortunate enough to have some pretty good tutors. I had a couple tutors who actually took extra time outside of the program to meet up with me. They met up with my parents. They kept in contact with my parents. They'd give them a phone call every 2 weeks. They'd be writing letters on my assignment book for my teacher to read, to let them know what we accomplished. I was fortunate, I really was, and that really influenced me, and it helped me out a lot in the long run, because even through my life, in times of trouble, I had that to fall back on, that confidence to know that if I wanted to, I could get things, set things right, and get on the right path. I didn't have to worry.
Well, I'm curious to hear Joel as well, because you grew up in Chicago and now you're here in the program in Milwaukee and helping out as a volunteer. What sort of differences? I think we look at Chicago here and say, oh, they've got way worse than we do. But is it the same? Is it different? How so?
Well, on a social level, I guess it's pretty similar. We could argue back and forth as to which city's more segregated, this and that. But when it comes down to it, there's a lot of similarities. Hispanic kids grow up in Hispanic areas. African American kids the same. And the whole stereotype, the white kids are in the suburb, goes, I think, both ways for the most part. So, yeah, you really deal with that a lot. Even at a young age, these kids are catching on to these things. Where I wouldn't say most, but a lot of kids aren't, and at a young age too. And it seems like kids younger and younger are having to be introduced to things that a lot of people didn't really see until they were adults, And I guess the question is, how do we deal with these kinds of situations, and what's going on in these kids' lives? And seeing that one of the best things that you can do as a volunteer, or as a tutor, as an individual, is just to come in and be a role model for the person. Show them that you actually care. Show the kid that you're actually, you honestly, because kids, they're not dumb. They're not dumb. They know when they're sitting next to. I knew when I had a temporary volunteer, somebody who I didn't know on a personal level, or sometimes they, wouldn't be as good as the person that you had who already invested some time in you. You could tell if somebody's sincere and if they want to help you, so that's very important right off the bat. Being sincere, wanting to help sincerely. Then you build trust with the kid. Then they start to understand that you really care in their like what's going to happen in their life. You really want them to succeed, and that really makes an impression on them, because coming through, I don't want to really rag on the school system or anything, but a lot of times you're coming through these systems and you're just almost a number sometimes. And, a lot of times it gets caught up where they're trying to get kids to graduate,
right,
and just trying to meet the bare minimum standards, that you get caught up in that nobody's really holding those levels high for you. And so you get that mindset where you're just doing what you have to do to get by. And it ends up sticking with you if you don't break out of it, because you don't, as it goes back with the confidence and all that.
Well, and this is a great way to help break out of it by making sure that you have high-quality volunteers in the system.
Exactly, yeah.
Again, the website, if you want to find out more or you want to pass along someone's name or pass along some information, summitea.org.